Are you freaking kidding me? That was, in my opinion, a completely dumb move. I can't believe it. I'll get into it later. Okay, so everyone comes back from Tribal. Brad and his group are obviously, pretty devastated because they thought they had a very good majority alliance that unknowingly has every idol in the game and did have all the advantages, but so it flips, and now it's seemingly 6-4, although last episode did hint that actually that group is actually pretty fragile given Sarah's newly joining bit, and then Zeke's mentioned so that Andrews just trusted Zeke, so I knew that there was a possibility that something could happen, but not instantly, right? And I was a little surprised to see Sarah, openly admit it like that. Now, to be fair, okay, they probably would have come to the conclusion that it was her anyway, but I don't know, it's just a little strange in my mind to see someone willingly take full responsibility for an action like that. That was interesting to see. It goes to show honesty. Right, and I don't think there's anything else I can mention before the reward challenge, or if there is, it really wasn't enough for me to notice it. So that was a nice challenge. The tribes were seemingly evenly matched, even though the orange team had a tough time figuring out that system, even though a little bit of that was Ty's fault unintentionally, even though I probably would be doing something very similar. Like, I would not be able to figure out, how I can stand there in relation to others, because, like, whenever I have to help people, bring a heavy item up and down the stairs, it's not exactly easy for me to figure out how I work into that system, that kind of a thing, right? So Blue ended up winning, and I was a little bit more for them winning, but I didn't feel like there was really that much at stake, to be honest. Right. So on the reward challenge, we got that pretty interesting discussion between Brad and Zeke, throwing out football things, kind of like as Dr. Ross mentions in his recap, Chris and Zeke from last season. And then it further raises Andrew's suspicions of Zeke, and I get that it did seem to be a little easy, but the thing is, all of those people outside of the game, I doubt that they were going to have too many issues with each other. Oh, sure, like Ozzy and Debbie still seem to be pissed on what happened to them at those tribals, but it's just people who are playing the game. They've all done it before. They've all watched tons of seasons of the show, if not every season, because, like, I still haven't watched every season, even though I know what happens, right? But it really wasn't anything other than Zeke being Zeke. Now, Brad, there could have been some strategy on his part, but we didn't really hear too much from him on the reward. There was a snippet of it, and then that pretty much got left off, so yeah. And that just seemed to be a little bit more like the clumsy or idiotic Brad that was in Blood vs. Water, but I don't know. I still think that there's a little bit more to a Brad's strategic thinking. It's just, when you're in the minority on this show, there isn't exactly too much that you can do a lot of the time. Usually it's the majority has to, either break apart, do something in themselves to self-destruct, which is what happened at last Tribal, right? So, I get it. So people would turn from the reward, and then we get a couple more discussions about what is this new majority alliance planning on doing, because it seems to be they're either going to go for like the obvious route of go for the person that they feel is the biggest threat on Brad and Sierra's group, which is Sierra, or they could go for the weak lean within their group, which would appear to be Zeke, because for whatever reason Andrea seemed to have a more secure bond, which I guess would make sense because she did talk to Cerie first, it seemed. Yeah, because Zeke did mention that he was nervous about Andrea and Cerie in comparison to Sierra and I think one other person, although I forget who it was, right. And Sarah ends up revealing her advantage to Suri, which is interesting, but I wish that we had heard more from Suri on this, because that's the thing that's getting to me. She is playing a nice game, Suri, unlike Andrea, I feel, but she ends up getting roughly the same amount of camera time as Andrea, even though Andrea, I think, has gotten a few more confessionals, given how she seems to be burning people or getting on people's radar, but just I would like to hear more from her about this, because this is making me really be, kind of, on what's going on with Suri, because we're more just observing her game. We're not hearing her game, which is a little disappointing, because if she were to pull it out, I'd be happy for her, but I want to feel better about this, yeah. And then we got an interesting bit where Sarah mentions that given how what's going on with her group, and then how the number situation isn't actually too different, she finds herself in the middle again. But here's the thing that got to me about this. Last week she was in the middle also, but she was talking to people on both sides of the equation. This time she was only talking to people in Cerise's group, which led me to believe that she wasn't going anywhere, because if you're in the middle and you're considering flipping, you're talking to both groups. You don't talk to one group at all. Yeah, why would you go with them if there's no evidence of it? Yeah, that just did not bode well in my mind. Because for the rest of the episode, I'm like, why are we hyping all this? Okay, she's not going anywhere, so sticking with it. Sierra's getting toasted here. Come on, it's ridiculous. That immunity challenge, I was really surprised that no one dropped during that. Like, I thought people were going to be having issues with it like crazy, especially given how narrow that beam was. I don't even think it was the width of my hand here, even though obviously my hand's close to the camera lens, so it looks a little bigger, right? But yeah, just nice job, Andrea. And for those of you who are not paying attention, not only was that her second immunity win this season, but her fourth win overall. So she's now tied the record for most individual immunities won by a woman, regardless, because as I said, whether it's non-consecutive in a season, consecutive within a season, or counting returning players, the record is 4 for all three of those things, even though she was given an immunity in a Redemption Island, and Pav and Amanda didn't win one immunity in one of the seasons that they played, so it's a little different for her, but that's interesting, isn't it? Yeah. So then at camp, gradually becomes even more obvious that it's either Sierra or Zeke going, but given how I mentioned Sarah's talking to other people, and then how also Zeke was preaching to her a pretty interesting Final Five deal, I was like, yeah, there's no doubt in my mind about this. Sierra's gone. It's like last time. There's nothing that she can do, except this time she hasn't really shot herself in the foot. It's her alliance shot themselves in the foot, and then she's, the top target to go. So at Tribal, I'm just like, okay, let's move on, people. Let's get Sierra out of here. So then we end up, getting the pretty interesting Ty Sierra bits, but I'm like, okay, there's been a strange pattern of the votings all season. It's still going to be Sierra going, but then Zeke's name starts coming up over and over again. But at first I'm like, yeah, not a big deal, because like even when it was free Zeke, free Ty to Sierra, I'm just like, yeah, probably nothing to worry about here. But then his name came up the other two votes, and when I saw that, I was like, are you stupid? Because like, I mean, like, it's been argued in Rob and Steven's video, that this group would have fractured, and I did see that, but the thing was, if they had stuck together for that vote and got rid of one of the big groups, suddenly that Six and Cerise's group has the bargaining power to work with any one of the people that remain on Brad's group, especially with his lieutenant out of the way, and then they can manipulate them to do whatever they feel like, effectively taking the game into their own hands. But now with Zeke gone, it's 5-4, even though everyone flipped on tie, which was even more reason why they should have voted out Sierra or Ty, because given how all of them turned on each other, that gives the Cerise group members more bargaining power. But now that it's 5-4, suddenly just about everybody has about the same bargaining power, in my opinion. So just, I cannot believe it. Because Cerise group with that move, in my opinion, has in essence wiped the slate clean and given everything, power to start over again. Just, I cannot believe that they did that. That was such a dumb move, in my opinion. Yeah, and Debbie going idiots? Well, if she means a Cerise group, I wholeheartedly agree, but obviously she can't really figure out how the votes went down. But just, that was such a dumb move. And remember, I didn't really want Sierra to go. So, just, come on. No, I don't think it's going to shoot everyone in the foot the same way, in my opinion, because I don't think anything's going to happen to Suri. Aubrey doesn't have a shot of winning this game at all. Andrea, I think, she's going to go out the same way that she did last time, although I'll admit she does have a better chance with this episode, yeah. Michaela, I don't really see how she could win. And she could get to the end, but win, I don't think so. I mean, Aubrey's the same way, but just, yeah. So, this isn't gonna hurt her, I don't think, but who knows? Right. Okay, I think that's all I can say, so later.